Hello, hello, and welcome to Alta Live. I am so excited to speak with you today about gibbons and the extraordinary gibbon sanctuary that is in the Santa Clarita Valley. It's called the Gibbon Conservation Center. Today, we are joined by Gabriella Skollar, who is the director of the GCC, as those of us now who are cool with gibbons call the Gibbon Conservation Center. Um, Louise Farr, a regular Alta contributor, wrote for the Alta Online about the Gibbons global plight and the work being done at the GCC with Gabby and her team. She wrote this incredible article called A Safe Space for Endangered Apes. As many of you know, if you've been to Alta Live before, what we like to do is take an article like Louise's and expand upon it. Ask someone like Gabby to come and speak to us, tell us more. And so we've got more questions about gibbons. First of all, they're not monkeys. Did you know that? I did not. So we're going to learn a ton, hopefully, about gibbons and what the GCC does and why it's so important. Very briefly about Gabby, Gabriella Skollar has been working for the Gibbon Conservation Center since 2005. The mission of the GCC is to promote the conservation, study, and care of gibbons through public education and habitat preservations. The GCC houses 40 gibbons, representing 5 of the 20 species, one critically endangered. Gabby graduated in 2004 with a master's in biology from the University of Sked.
Szeged.
Szeged in Hungary. She first became involved with gibbons when her university advisor asked her to record Kazat, a northern white-cheeked gibbon at the Szeged Zoo. She moved to the US in 2025, originally from Hungary. She is a husbandry advisor for the Gibbon SSP in the United States and a member of the Gibbon Hand Rearing and Surrogate Team. She has presented international conferences on gibbon husbandry, cognition, and social behavior. She is currently pursuing her PhD at UCLA and plans to dedicate her life to preserving gibbons and their lifestyle. So we have the gibbon expert here with us today. So excited to welcome you. Gabby, before we
Thank
dive in to our gibbon convo, my sales pitch for Alta Journal. Folks, Alta, if you are not aware, is a quarterly magazine and website focused on California and the West. We are big and beautiful. In fact, our new issue is coming out in mere weeks, nay, days. So we do free events like this every Wednesday at 12:30 is Alta Live. The third Thursday of the month is the Free California Book Club. We host live events. We've got big events coming up with Litquake. We're going to be doing, we're going to be at the Kaliba Fall Fest next week. We are all over the place, and our magazine is, if I may say so myself, something truly special. If you haven't yet subscribed, I really encourage you to do so. It's $50 a year to support us with an annual membership. I will pop a link in the chat. I know I do this every week, but if you come to Alta Live every week and you like the work we do, I so hope you will consider supporting us by becoming a member and helping us continue to do the journalism and interviews like this that you see every week. There is a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen to ask your questions of Gabby, all your given questions. I got a ton myself, but if I miss some, ask them there. There's also a chat. It is so great to see where people are zooming in from. I am up in Northern California, in Nevada, California. Gabby, welcome. Where are you zooming in from today?
Well, I'm at the Gibbon Conservation Center, and it's in Santa Clarita.
And you actually live there
Yes.
for almost 20 years.
Yes.
The dedication is impressive. I do not live at Alta. All right, so I kind of want to dive right in. For those that haven't read Louise's article yet, or also just are new to the subject, can you give us a very brief biology lesson on gibbons? Where is their natural habitat? What's their lifespan? Give us the kind of like fourth grade field trip version of what's a gibbon, and then kind of tell us about their endangered status.
Yes. So Gibbons, let's start with the very basic that we tell all the little kids that come through the gate that might not know that gibbons are not monkeys, they are apes. And the most visible difference between a monkey and an ape, that apes don't have a tail. So we just pointed out for them that, look, it's a gibbon. It doesn't have a tail. And
Is that it?
gibbons,
That's the only difference
yeah,
between a monkey and an ape?
no, there's other differences, but that's so easy to see. So
Okay.
that's the simplest thing. Um, Apes also have a larger brain size than a monkey compared to the same body weight. And apes have a longer arms than their legs. So for like gibbons, it's like 1.5 times longer than the legs. And then they are more upright. And then they have a very flexible shoulder, because on monkeys, the shoulder blade is on the side, and for apes, it's on the back, or humans. So that's kind of freed up the joint, the shoulder joint, so we're able to rotate our arm, and that's allow that's called the brachiation, when gibbons swing from one tree to another. All apes can swing, but gibbons are super light, and they are, the greatest acrobats. And so then we can talk that they are arbor. They spend most of their life up high on the trees. That's where they sleep. That's where they forage for food. They hardly ever go on the ground. Um, if they are playing, they might go on the ground and they chase each other and they wrestle together on the ground, but then they go up high on the trees because it's not really safe for gibbons to be on the ground. So they are small apes. They used to call them the lesser apes, but um, it's not a nice way to call them. So a couple years ago, the name changed to small apes, and somebody commented about like they just we can call them great apes. They just smaller in size. So that they are the most diverse from all the apes. There's 20 species. And the 20 species divided into four larger groups, four different genera. The four genera is different in chromosome numbers, but all gibbons are found in Asia, Southeast Asia, Northeast India, Southern China. And from the 20 species, 19 are either endangered or critically endangered. And then one species is only vulnerable at this point.
Why are
So
they endangered?
So there's various reasons. The main reason is habitat loss, but there's also poaching, and there's also effects of just once they are incredibly rare, like one of the rarest primate is called the Hainan gibbon. There's only 37 individual left, and once the number is so low, then that's affecting just the small number, like inbreeding. They become very sensitive for any kind of disease outbreak or anything. So there are other species. There's just a couple hundreds left, and hunting so in some places they eat them, but they also hunt them to use them in traditional medications and ceremonies, and then they hunt them to sell the babies as a pet. So it's a terrible industry because they often kill the parents so they can sell these very young gibbons. They're often like less than a year old to use them as a like tourist attractions or sell them as a pet. And and then habitat loss, it's like large scale deforestations for plantations, for coffee, tea plantations, for palm oil plantations, for paper product, for hardwood, for mining, for train tracks, for electricity going from one place to another. So, and they just very sensitive for habitat disturbance. And they can adjust slowly for changes in their habitat. Like gibbons usually eat fruits, like about 60-70% of diet in fruit, and they forage within the rainforest. But they can adapt to changes in the seasons. They can rely on only like 30% fruit in higher elevation, but losing the habitat, there's no forest. They're not able to survive. And then in areas where gibbons have conflict with the human populations and they start feeding them, they interacting with them, then could be disease transfer, and they start relying on food coming from the people, and
Oh,
they're not
sure.
able to forage, and there could be other conflicts, like they bite a human just by interacting. So yeah, so they're just very sensitive, and they mostly very shy animals. So there are researchers spending months in a forest and they hear them, but they might not see them. So I was actually very lucky because I don't spend too much time in the field. I visited a few sites in Asia, and I only saw gibbons once in Java for like just a couple minutes.
Java.
Yes, yeah,
Amazing. All
yeah,
right, tell us about the GCC. How this, I realize that this was founded many years ago.
yeah,
You've been in charge for nearly, or you've been there for nearly 20 years. But can you
yeah.
tell us kind of the mission of the GCC, where you rescue these gibbons from, what you're doing with them, and so on?
Yeah, so the center was founded in 1976 by Alan Mutnik, and Alan was a self-taught expert. He was just very passionate about gibbons, and at a very young age, he learned about gibbons and understand how rare they are. And at 9 years old, he decided that he's going to dedicate his life to gibbons. And his parents told him he could do anything he wanted. He just have to, earn some living. And he started, when he was in his 30s, he had a small zoo. But he was learning and reading papers about gibbons, visiting other zoos, learning about gibbons. And eventually he specialized only on gibbons and rare species of gibbons. He started establishing captive breeding programs with various zoos and conservation centers to help preserve them because he knew about the habitat loss, and he wanted to create a safe place for gibbons and create safe populations. And you can't have all the gibbons in one site. So that's the goal of captive breeding programs, global captive breeding programs, and species survival plans for endangered species to preserve rare animals. So if they become extinct in a wild, there will be a safe population that can help repopulate areas in a wild. So it's just for preservation and also education. So what we're trying to do here at the center, uh, we educate people about gibbons. So the gibbons that are here at the center, they almost like ambassadors for their wild gibbons. So here you can see them closely, you can hear them, and you don't have to go out into Java look for the gibbons.
For those of us that can't get to Java. Now you mentioned
Yes,
that you can hear them. And
yes,
Louise Farr, who wrote the article for Alta,
yes,
mentioned this in her article. Can you tell
yes,
us about gibbon vocalization or singing?
yes. So every morning at sunrise, gibbons start singing, and every species of gibbons have a song, and the different species of gibbons have a different song. And for most species, male and a female sing different part of the song and coordinate it into a complex duet. So that's why we call it a song, because it's not just vocalizing, not just making some long calls like other primates. They actually take turns and coordinate different parts into complex duet. And even the ones that don't sing a duet, just sing a solo song, they combine notes into phrases, and they have individual characteristics of their song. You can recognize individual gibbons by their song, and you know if it's a male or a female. And their song carry information about where they are, so the location. They marking their territory. They tell their neighbors that this is my home, and it prevents fighting. It creates spacing between different groups, and gibbons that sing a coordinated duet with their partner, they actually have to practice to sing a well-coordinated song. And that carry information about their pair bond. And then young gibbons join in and very often sing along with their parents. And young ones sing the female song And at some point, the males at around 6.5, 7 years old, they start practicing the male part and eventually develop the adult male song. And the song is not learned. The different notes, the different vocalizations that gibbons make, it's inherited, but they still have to practice it to coordinate it well, and then to develop the male song. A young male, when they first start singing, they sound terrible. They sound like a rusty glider making these squeaky sounds, but they're practicing and they spend sometimes an hour practicing and repeating the same calls over and over, and eventually start to sound like the male song.
How do you know
We
when
have
they're
them find a partner.
practicing? How do you know when they're practicing versus when it is the grand performance? What's the difference?
So, so the couples, the parents sing their duet, and then these teenagers, adolescent gibbons, at certain age, they will sing when their parents are not singing. They sing when there's no one else singing. They often turn away from the other gibbons. Or we had Howard, he's a young male. When he first started, he was singing inside the sleeping box, very softly, just practicing the same calls over and over. And then once he started to get better at it, he would still sing a solo when other ones were not singing, but his voice was stronger and he was sitting on the top of the sleeping box. And then eventually they just don't sing as frequently. They start joining in and sing a duet. They might join in with a duet with their parents, or they are in an age that they are moving out and they sing a solo song to call for a partner. So in the wild, when they live in a tropical rainforest, which the canopy, they don't see each other very well. The
Mhm.
song travel for a long distance, and they can hear other solo gibbons that could be looking for a partner, and they can locate each other just by their song.
This is okay. And so you live at the GCC, and every
Yes, I
morning
am.
at sunrise.
They start singing. At least once they will sing, but throughout the day, they sing a few more times in the morning.
And folks, you can, I mean, I did this, I went on YouTube. You can hear Gibbon singing at the GCC or elsewhere. I myself cannot tell the difference between a performance and a practice or a learning. How do you know? How did researchers, and let me give credit where credit is due here. Marcia asks, how do researchers determine that they are not learning the songs as opposed
So
to inheriting them?
So there's a couple of different things. So I mentioned there's 20 species, and there are areas where two species overlap and they can produce a hybrid. So a hybrid gibbon will sing a song that has characteristics from both parents, and they're not learning the patterns from their parents. They sing kind of a mixed species song. Or if you have a gibbon that the mother reject and you are hand raising and you are raising them like you have a foster gibbon that adopt a different species, they're not gonna learn that other species song. And even if they don't hear another gibbon, they're gonna still develop their species specific song.
Gabby, your passion and like knowledge about this is so interesting. Why did you pick Gibbons?
I wasn't sure it's gonna be gibbon. I loved animals. I always was just fascinated watching animals and their behavior. And I was always interested in vocalizations and animal communication. And I went to study biology in Hungary. And I was also interested what makes us a human? What's the difference between animals and us? And every summer I worked at the Budapest Zoo, and I was actually working with birds, but my advisor was studying gibbons there, and she was studying self-recognition in gibbons and other tool use in gibbons. And I was just quietly observed how she was working with them. And then at the third year of the university, we have to pick a subject to write our thesis research. And I called her and we started working together. And I was just in Hungary visiting different zoos and studying gibbons, studying cognition. But I also noticed things that there were things that I didn't like how the gibbons were kept. There was, Hungary, Eastern Europe, small country. There were certain things that I really wanted to improve, and I cared about these animals. I learned about them, so I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to learn more about gibbons. And my professor told me about this site here at the center. Gibbon researchers know each other, so my professor in Hungary knew Ellen. She also told me if I want to be a primatologist, I had to learn English. So in 2005, I came here to learn English and continue working with gibbons. And as I, you know, working with them more, I just kept learning more. And at some point, I couldn't imagine working with any other animals. I couldn't imagine leaving the center. So I just fall in love with them. And yeah, there's still a lot we don't know about gibbons. They're very diverse. So even like when people ask, so what's the function of the song? It doesn't just have one function, and it could be different for different part of the song. It could be different for different species. Or if people ask like how smart are gibbons, there's very big individual differences, and there's differences between species. So there's still so many questions. So and they just need more attention. So yeah.
We mentioned earlier, I had to ask, and I for brilliant people in the audience, forgive me.
Mhm.
I am Alta's lowbrow TV viewer, but there is a very popular show on Netflix right now called Chimp Crazy about people who own um primates, chimpanzees namely, and PETA is going after them because they are not being cared for properly. One of the things that you mentioned earlier is that while gibbons are absolutely adorable and very cute for us humans to look at, they make horrible pets. Can you tell us a little bit about, number one, just do people keep gibbons as pets? Why are they horrible pets, and why is this a really bad idea?
So it starts how they get those pet gibbons. So they go in a forest and then shoot the parents on a tree. The parents fell, and the babies cling to the mother. The mother carries those babies the first 2 years, like almost all the time, and they just take the baby off the mom, put it in a cardboard box or put it in a bird cage, and they might take them out to a bar or for the street so tourists can go and hold that baby gibbon and take a pictures with, or they take them or sell it as a pet. And then people, the first couple years, they carry it around like their own baby, this baby gibbon. By the time a gibbon is like 3, 4 years old, they're not gonna be tame. They're not gonna be like a pet dog or a cat. It's gonna be a wild animal. It's gonna start to have canines. It's gonna be frustrated because he's not able to socialize with another gibbon. It's going to be confused about being a gibbon or being a human. They will have no clue what kind of diet he needs. And eventually, this gibbon could turn aggressive because all the trauma he went through, and they're not going to know what to do with it. And if the gibbon is lucky, it might end up in a sanctuary, and it is not legal to keep gibbons as pets, so they get confiscated and they go to sanctuaries. There are hundreds of gibbons in different sanctuaries in Asia, and it takes years of rehabilitation, and then they try to release them, but they can only release them if they are healthy physically and mentally. So if a gibbon kept as a pet, eventually in a bird cage, it might not be healthy mentally and not gonna be releasable. And it's not gonna have like a happy life because it might not able to bond with another gibbon, or it might have like deformation in its body because it don't have the right diet. If it's lucky and it got confiscated at the early age, and these people in these sanctuaries, they do amazing job pairing them up and giving them a right diet and introducing them the wild food, eventually they release them back into the wild. And but it takes a lot of money to care for these animals and a lot of work to rehabilitate them and then release them. And then those gibbons that are, in Europe or in the US, there are certain states that allow to have people breed gibbons, and they sell them. They take them away from the parents because they want them to bond with a human, and then they sell them as a pet. Um, I don't know exactly which state allows them, but there's a couple places that you will see that, and it's not just gibbons, pet chimpanzees and large cats and all that, and they just don't let them socialize with another gibbon. And gibbons are very territorial animals. So by the time they become an adult, they might become aggressive towards the same-sex human because they're not gonna know they are a gibbon. And it's like if you care for animals, you're responsible for their whole life. And yeah, it's just a couple years when they are super. I mean, to me, a gibbon is cute for their whole life. But the way we care for the gibbons here, we respect them as a wild animal, and we limit the interactions. We are here just to care for them and to understand them and share whatever we learn about them to other people. We're not here to interact with them and keep them as a pet, and it just the terrible things for gibbons for long term.
And you'd mentioned earlier that it is illegal in California, at
Yeah,
least, to
in
keep.
many states it's not legal to keep primates as pets.
Okay. All right. More questions. I hope we have no gibbon pet owners in the audience. If so, if someone, first of all, will you take a gibbon? If someone is like, I don't know, aware of a gibbon being kept as a pet somewhere, how do you get the gibbons that you care for?
So the gibbons that are here today, either born in a zoo or came from another zoo. We have a couple of eastern hula gibbons that were born in the wild, but they were kept as a pet in Myanmar. And then they were confiscated by the forest department, and they were sent to the Yangon Zoo, and then from there they came here. So the gibbons that are here today were not pets. They
Got it.
were came from other zoos or conservation centers. Yeah.
All right. Charita asks, first of all, Charita is a docent at the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco. We have some excellent paintings from Japan on gibbons. And the kids to whom I give tours love these artworks. Question, is it true that there are no gibbons in Japan,
Well, there's zoos in Japan,
but
but
they're not
not in
in the
the wild.
wild?
There is no gibbons in the wild. No. Yes,
All right.
gibbons find in the tropical rainforest, so their climate is more temperate.
All right. They also ask, is there, let me do this one. Who are their natural enemies or predators other than humans who are screwing up their environment or stealing, killing their parents? What are their, in their natural habitat, who are their enemies?
Big cats, so tigers and leopards. An eagle can take a young gibbon. Big snakes like a python can also eat a gibbon. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And gibbons are very sensitive for the predators. They make alarm calls. They make specific alarms for big birds and then for other animals that are on the ground. And they don't just alert their family members, they alert the whole forest, which because the gibbons are territorial, but in neighboring territories there could be other gibbons that could be family members, extended families. Their alarm calls kind of travel far away in a forest, and they let the other gibbons know there is a tiger or a leopard in an area.
It's amazing. It's also amazing that you've been able to figure all of this out, the long-term study of them. It's fascinating. All right, Teresa asks, when they are released, if a gibbon is able to be
Mhm.
released back into the wild, are they chipped so you can keep track of them?
So in most places, when they do a release, they following them. They sometimes use like a GPS implant that it won't last too long, but they can follow them for a little bit with that. And then they also try to use GPS colors, but that can be, if a gibbon doesn't want something on their neck, they're just gonna take it off. So but as I mentioned, that they have unique songs that you can recognize individuals, and after release, they often stay in the release site because they are territorial and they don't travel too far, so they can kind of know where they are. And in many places, when they do release, they do a soft release, so they still provide some food for them, so they can slowly adjust to be completely independent. So they can keep an eye on those release gibbons for a while.
All right, we're running out of time, so I'm going to do two more questions.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Susan and Stephen ask, why would a zoo give you their gibbons? Or are the zoos not taking good care of them?
No, so gibbons have a very unique family structure. They are serial monogamous and they live in families. Their kids stay with them until about 8 or 9 years old, and then their parents push them out of the family. So same in the wild, they don't stay in a large group, a large family. It's just a nuclear family with 2, 3 dependent offspring. So you can't just put a bunch of gibbons in one enclosure. You have to house a pair or you have to house a family group. So once their offspring is around 8, 9 years old, you're gonna have to look for a partner for them. And that's when zoos and often a stud bookkeeper that help coordinate the captive breeding program, they will try to look for a suitable partner for that gibbon. But we also pair up gibbons just so they provide a company to each other. So, but they usually, it's a male and a female, because two males usually don't get along, or two females.
And how many gibbons do you have at the GCC right now?
We have 40 gibbons.
Do you know all of their names?
Yes, of course. I recognize many of them just by their voice, just by their vocalization with my eyes closed.
Oh my God,
So,
Gabby. All right, last question for you. I put in the chat and we will send it, folks, to all of you. Again, this interview is being recorded and we will email it to everyone who's registered for this event, put it on our website. I've also got a link to the Gibbon Center here. Other than donate, which you can donate on the link, volunteer, sponsor a Gibbon, what is one thing that each of us can do to support gibbon preservation? Is there just in our own daily lives, is there something that we can do to be better citizens to gibbons?
yes, and it's really not just for gibbons, just in general, just um, reducing our footprint, just the amount of things we buy and thrown away. I think that's what we kind of have to make all a difference, because a lot of product coming from the rainforest, paper product, many of the grocery and cosmetic product contains palm oil, which cause large scale deforestations in Indonesia and Malaysia. But even paper product, just using less paper and reading the ingredients of the different things that we buy and looking into things, how they were produced and where they came from. I think we have to make all these changes and ask those questions. Do I really need this thing? And as for palm oil, there are different applications. You can scan the barcode on things and it will tell you if it was the palm oil that's in that product is produced sustainably without causing deforestations, or it is not a, then we have to look for an alternative product if it has palm oil that cause deforestations. So there's different tools that we can use, and then tell other people about it. So it's like just the knowledge, it makes a big difference. And if we get a chance to travel and you see baby animals, wild animals, don't take pictures with those animals, report it, and
Mm.
alert the agencies about the issue, because they can come and get those animals and rescue them.
Debbie, you've found your calling. Thank you so much for
You.
taking the time. Louise, I know Louise is in the article. Thank you, Louise, for your fantastic article. Again, it's in the chat and we'll send it to everyone. I am so grateful to you, Gabby, for taking the time to help us learn more about gibbons today. So thank you,
Thank
thank you.
you.
For
Thank you.
audience, join us next week. I will be zooming into you live from Pasadena. I'll be at CALIBA, the California Independent Booksellers Association Annual Fall Fest. It is a huge trade show. We're going to be talking with two board members about the special challenges faced by California's indie booksellers. We all buy our books at indie booksellers, I'm sure. So come and join me there. See if I can get my laptop to work in a Pasadena Hilton. It'll be exciting no matter what happens. But thank you so much for joining us today and supporting Alta Journal. And again, Gabby and the Gibbon Center, thank you guys so much for the time today and the work you do.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye.